You know, Bill, I've been watching Twitter all day long, and it seems to me like the people in Georgia are losing their religion over all this corruption. What do you say? All this lack of transparency.
I am telling you what, people are up in arms because they're actually seeing it play out, and it's unmistakable.
Yeah, yeah,
Very very
there's
odd stuff, very concerning stuff, and things that are literally harmful to to individuals, not physically, but certainly emotionally, and maybe for their well being,
economically,
intellectually.
reputation wise, a lot of things.
Yep.
I'm L. Todd Wood. I'm your host. My co-host Bill Quinn. He does all the work, and
That's great. It's gracious, but not quite true.
so this is the Georgia Show. We're brought to you by the Georgia Record, georgiarecord.com. Please support us with our no ad subscriptions. This is really big. We're getting a big batch of these coming in. I really appreciate it. And I had somebody send me a column saying, or not a column, but a text saying, look, I go all over the world for news and I hate pop-ups on my phone, especially when I'm driving. And for me to go from all your sites and not have to get those pop-up ads is just fantastic. So it's worth $10 a month or $100 a year for our no ad subscriptions. You can check it on any of our sites, subscribe with no ads, top right corner. And sign up for our social media. Our X account is growing nicely, lots of activity there. CDM1 channel on Rumble is growing immensely. Thank you for that. And we're on YouTube. We're not streaming live on YouTube because we have to vet the shows and make sure Bill doesn't say anything bad I have to cut out. But it is put up right after the show's over. We're also on podcast. You can listen to us in the car during the week, on the way to work, whatever. Catch us when you can. We're on X, Rumble, and Getter as well. Bill, I know we've got a packed show. Who do we got today?
So we're going to start off hearing from David Cross because we've seen so many odd things go on the last 2 weeks. I wanted to get a check-in with him and see what his read was on some of the stuff. We're also going to show a video that he produced in the last 24 hours regarding this strange NDA that they're asking state candidates and maybe others to sign that seems unreasonable to almost everybody of thinking mind. And attorneys that have seen it are going, what the heck is this thing? So we're going to hear about that. We're going to hear from some of the candidates that we got a chance to sit with last week at the MA-GA candidate forum, and also some comments that they made during their speeches, which delve into this transparency issue, if you will, further.
Yeah.
We'll also get a chance to see some of the sit-down interviews that I get a chance to do with some of these candidates, and we're kind of concentrating on folks that have their elections coming up just in the next few days. District conventions in most counties, or in most districts, pardon me, will be held this coming Saturday, and so we wanted to make sure that we had a chance to air our discussions with folks who will be up for election this coming Saturday.
So before we get started, I'm going to run a quick ad from our new sponsor, alppouch.com/CDM. Here we go.
We recommend you take this moment to do what we're about to do, which is enjoy an Alp.
So check us out on alppouch.com/CDM. Bill's got one in right now. He might.
I don't. No, I don't. No, but I want to show support because I think they're good. I keep hearing and reading things about nicotine when used in moderation and with thinking, and seems to be interesting stuff. So
it is. It does have a lot of interesting health benefits out there, as you said, in moderation. But go to alppouch.com/CDM. Don't use the woke Zen. Check us out. Support free media with an Alp. And floor is in your hands, Bill.
Okay. So earlier today, I had the chance to catch up with David Cross. We covered a fair amount of ground. There's this weird feeling that something's just clearly not right with the Georgia GOP, and so we talked about that, and we talked about the need. And I heard this last night at another meeting: the need for people to get back to feeling like the organization that they are part of is good, righteous, acting appropriately. We have these ideals that we're supposed to be living to, and it seems like many of them are getting bypassed at the moment. Let's hear from David. We are delighted to have David Cross with us this evening. I wanted to get in touch with David to sort of debrief on the events of the last couple of weeks and get his view. So, David, thank you for making a few minutes. I know you're busy today.
My pleasure, Bill. Thanks for having me.
So we've seen some really odd things come to light in the last 2 weeks. Just one of which is learning that one of the candidates running for assistant secretary, a young man by the name of Jaquan Stembridge, was actually approached by Josh McCoon directly and asked if he would consider, these are Jaquan's words I'm using, asked if he would consider dropping out of the race so that they could allow the race to go to Carolyn Jeffords. A couple of reasons apparently, but one of the most interesting or concerning, Carolyn Jeffords, he said, he was told, brings a lot of money to the party. Let's start there, and we'll kind of go through some of the other stuff. But what do you make of such a thing after Josh has repeatedly claimed he did not want to be part of the candidate process and managing who was going to be a candidate?
Yeah, so this is all about, I think it's all about manipulation and control. It's about Josh retaining control, having a board that's in his corner, so to speak. And asking Jaquan to do that is it's disingenuous. We for the longest time have been trying to engage and involve younger Republicans, and here's a perfect opportunity served up on a platter. And Josh, bats it down. I don't understand what the logic is, or if there is any logic. I mean, but I keep bringing logic to political discussion, and I got to stop doing that.
Well, all I could think when I heard this was, we have talked for years now, quite a number of years. We wish we should have more cultures, more communities as part of the Georgia Republican Party. And as you say, here's a beautiful example. Wonderful young man, double major, already been working for over 4 years to try to help conservative cause. And imagine who knows how many people might be attracted to join, participate in the party just by nature of him being here. And it doesn't seem to be the most important thing to Mr. McCoon. It defies logic, as you say. It just doesn't make sense.
It's a layup. It's an absolute layup. And you're, when you get a layup, you're supposed to score the points. So, I'm excited about having Jaquan, involved in the race. I'm excited because, I feel very confident I'm going to get elected. And when I become chairman, I'm pretty sure Jaquan's going to be on there too. I'm excited about working with him. I think there's a lot of energy that's going to come into the party because of it.
I want to make sure that people understand too. We were at an event last Thursday, and Jaquan, in addition to running against Carolyn Jeffords, he's running against now Kylie Kramer. Kylie Kramer and Lisa Pierce had just Thursday afternoon been informed that they indeed would be provided slots on the ballot for the state officials. Should they go ahead and submit a more formal resume that had not previously been defined, but apparently they got some definition that the GOP asked for. But more importantly, as part of that, both Kylie and Jaquan reaffirmed that they were not running against each other. They were running for doing a good job in the assistant secretary. And in an amazing turn at the very end of the meeting, Amy Kremer, Kylie Kremer's mother, said, no matter who wins, we need people just like these young people in this party. And should one not win, we need to make room for them. So it isn't about, there's a limited, seat, and if you don't win, oh, well, tough, bye-bye. It's, if we want good people, we make room. And I found that insightful and stunning, very frankly, and a complete departure from what we normally hear, which is gotta win at all cost. It just seems it's like a move toward, I guess the word I'm looking for is righteousness, trying to do the right thing inside and with the Georgia GOP. And I heard that again last night. Does that make sense to you? Do you kind of sense that we have a chance to move toward good, I guess, for lack of a better term?
Yeah, we have a great opportunity. We have a great opportunity to put a fantastic group of people in here. And let me just make something clear. There's a conversation out there that's saying that Josh has a slate of people and I have a slate of people. I don't believe in slates. All right, I don't have a slate of people. I haven't put together anybody. There are some candidates that I like more than others. But with regard to this assistant secretary's position, if by some miracle neither Kylie nor Jaquan make it on there, and I become chairman, I guarantee you we're going to have a place for both of them. Both of them have got different talents and skills and abilities, and I'm looking to leverage those things so that we can make our footprint stronger with a younger crowd.
Yeah. Now, I know we're still early, and the vision of what folks might do in the various roles is still under works. But compare and contrast, if you could, what's happened in these last couple of years where several, you included, BKP when he was in first vice chair, really didn't have anything. You were called, as I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, weren't really called upon to take any responsibilities, weren't really assigned any responsibilities. Yet that seems to fly in the face of logic because you guys are good thinkers, you have good skills. Tell me how that would change under a board with you running it. How would you utilize the people that are elected?
All right.
Generally.
Yeah. So generally what I'd be talking about doing is I want to figure out what people's strengths and weaknesses are. I want to leverage their strength. I want to find out, what their communication styles and preferences are and how they're able to effectively communicate with people out there. In the last 2 years, since I was added as second vice chair, I've seen the state committee and the executive board or the executive committee just to have all those talents just wasted. There's a lot of people with a lot of passion, a lot of energy, a lot of knowledge, and none of it's being used. None of it's being leveraged. When I become chairman, I've got a 25-point strategic plan that I'm going to roll out, and we're going to be putting, those board members or committee members. I keep calling them board members. We're going to put those committee members, to work. They're going to be working really hard. There's a lot of work that needs to be done in order to tighten up the party, make it stronger, make it grow, and be able to, as I said before, we have to clone Trump Force, 47.
Mm-hmm.
But we've got to do it in a way where it's not going to cost millions upon millions of dollars because we don't have those resources. That's not to say that we can't go out there and raise them. But, I'm a business guy. We've got tons of people that are out there that are ready, willing, and able, to work. And we need to use those resources efficiently. I've always said that some people have time, some people have talent, some people have treasure. We have to leverage those things efficiently. You can't just throw money at the problem. I mean, we keep being beat over the head with the cash register, telling us that, that the race with John Ossoff is going to be $500 million. It's going to be the most expensive race. I don't think that it just comes down to just money and just throwing money at it. I think it comes down to what's a compelling message, what resonates with people, and how are we reaching out to them in our communities. That's what's gonna move the needle, not just how many advertisements can you put on TV.
That's right. You mentioned business, and one of the things we've seen as we get closer to now the district elections and so forth is that some of the folks that have a business background, they've built organizations, literally built real organizations, real employees, real commitment, real results, are some of the strongest, it appears, as people look at, for example, what Trump's put together, his background, the background of his people, and they appear to be looking to leverage those same metrics, if you will, in an emerging and renewed GOP. Are you seeing that?
What a concept! What a concept. Yes, that's what I want to do. That's what I know that a lot of people that are running that's what they want to do. We have a political organization that's being run by a politician, and one of my favorite quotes, as you and I both know, one of my favorite movies is The Hunt for Red October. right? And there's a line in there where I think the State Department guy is talking to Jack Ryan, and he says, I'm a politician, which means I'm a thief and a liar. And when I'm not kissing babies, I'm stealing their lollipops.
Mm-hmm.
And right now we have a political organization that's being run by a politician. And what it really is it should be a membership organization that's run like a business. There's money that needs to come in, money that needs to go out. You have to engage the members. You have to make people valued. And right now, there's a lot of there's probably 20, 30,000 people across the state that I'm willing to bet would be willing to give $10 a month, to help us keep the lights on and help us move the needle. And those people feel forgotten and disengaged, and they feel discarded. And we can't do that if we're going to win next year.
Yeah, it's often a question I find sometimes asked at the GOP meetings. There might be 60, 70, 80,000 people in a given county that voted for Trump, yet you're seeing a GOP meeting with 100.5 members. How is it possible that so many could have made a choice for Trump, yet don't see their way clear to being involved with the GOP? There must be something holding them back, and I have to believe that the approach that they see must be at least part of that.
Listen, it all comes down to, do we have a compelling message? Do we have compelling programming? Programming is just a nice way of saying, compelling speakers, compelling events, and that kind of thing. Things that are fun and engaging. Some of these meetings that you go to, they're fantastic. I mean, some of the counties that are out there that are doing a great job, they're really engaging. There's other counties that are out there where you're going into a meeting and it feels like you're going into a funeral, and it's just that's not engaging. That's not going to bring people back. We've got to re-energize and reinvigorate the organization.
I was fascinated last week to hear Lisa Pierce at that same event on Thursday relate that she'd been able to grow their GOP party membership in Upson County by 500% during her time, and that they had a 5.5 point swing toward Trump in between 2020 and 2024. That's
right.
An amazing dynamic, especially given other counties. I mean, my county, Forsyth, which had a substantial number of folks vote for Trump, but still really only changed a couple of percent points, which was, I'll call it, surprising.
Yep.
And she bested that. And I thought, what a great example of, if you do the right things, you get the results that you're really looking for, and you get more people engaged.
Yeah, we've got a lot of work to do. Some of the county, and some of the naysayers out there will say, oh, well, she only had a small number of members, and 500%, is not a big change. Well, the reality is it was a positive change. It was a big positive. I don't care if you started with 10 people or 20 people or whatever it is, but the fact that you got more engagement means that you're attracting more people to come in, to help you. We have serious issues that are going on, in Metro Atlanta, particularly in Cobb County, where the previous chair out there started with $100,000 in the bank, and when she's leaving, there's $10,000 that's in the bank. I mean, she's decimated the place, and at the same time, what's happened is, her county went more blue. Now maybe that's demographics. Maybe it was just the luck of the draw, and she had a ton of Democrats that all just landed in Cobb County, or maybe she just wasn't paying attention and didn't have her eye on the ball. Whatever it is, it has to be corrected, because Cobb County has a population, I believe, of close to 1 million people. That's a serious issue. We've got to do better with messaging. And I know that there's some fantastic people out there that are able to do that, but you have to have effective leadership at the same time too, that can leverage the resources.
That's right. I used to work with someone whose favorite expression was, because I know a lot of people at various levels of the GOP today focus on their work, focus on their efforts, and talk about, oh, this is what we did, blah, 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 blah. But this person's famous saying was, don't confuse effort with results. Right. Results are where things really happen. We're going to show, thank you for being with us, by the way. We're going to show a video that you posted in the last 24 hours on this amazingly complex NDA that appears to many to be nothing more than trying to keep visibility to a delegate list away from certain candidates and be able to limit or eliminate certain types of communication that could be enjoyed and reach the delegates and alternates. That's a shame, but it does appear to be the dynamic. Many people have said they're afraid to sign this and have been advised by their attorneys not to sign it because it's basically signing away,
it's too broad. It's too broad. It says that I'm signing up for non-disparagement, which is the legal term for I won't say bad things, about people. So I mean, what is characterized as bad things? What is characterized as disparagement? I have been, I have had slander, against me. I have had defamation happening. I've had to, I've had to get lawyers involved to do that, to protect my good name and my reputation. And as it stands right now, I shouldn't be signing something that gives somebody just an open doorway into my bank account at $25,000 a pop. It's ridiculous. It's a 9-page document. 2 pages of it are, 1 page is exhibits, 1 page is signature. So you got 7 pages of legalese that, I could have gone onto Twitter, onto Grok and said, write up a non-disclosure agreement, for sharing, people's emails and phone numbers and, and addresses. And Grok would have given me, something that's like maybe 1 page long, but instead we got 9 pages. And I think you've got the video. Either that, or I can go, or I can go grab it. I've got the NDA, on my counter.
If you want to and put it up, that's fine. So I'm going to pause that for just a second. He's going to find out that somebody moved his copy of the agreement. I'm going to play the video that he created to illustrate just how onerous this thing is. Let me play this.
I'm the second vice chair for the Georgia GOP. I'm running to become your chairman of the Georgia GOP. We've got some games that are being played right now at the Georgia GOP where I'm trying to get the delegate list so I can reach out to you and the other delegates and alternates are going to be going to the convention on June 7th. So here's the NDA that I got. I have to stand up on a chair. This is ridiculous. Are we trying to keep the secrets of the Epstein files down at the Georgia GOP or the stealth fighter jet? I don't know. To me, this looks like we're playing a lot of games. Thanks for watching. I'll keep you informed.
Oh no, Bill, it's in my car.
Oh, that's okay. Well, we're going to roll the video then after this so people can see it. It's
All right.
really amazing. And the old one used to be, as I recall, about 1 page.
Yeah, 1 or 2 pages.
And so you can tell that there's something more going on here. This seems to be, some folks like to use the word transparency. They're so transparent. They're so transparent. Yet with every investigation, we find that the exact opposite appears to be true. And it's a shame.
I don't see transparency. And listen, I've got people that are out there, saying, why are you running? Why are you so negative? Well, if I had a lot of positive things to say, I probably wouldn't be running, for chairman. I mean, it's just that simple. I'm running for chairman because I initially got involved in 2023 on the platform of election integrity, election security. All right. And then I got elected. Nothing happened. Josh McCoon didn't engage me, tried to push me out. He pushed, Brian Pritchard out, and then treated me like a mushroom, kept me in the closet and threw crap on me. When I ran for national committee man last year, I ran because I thought that maybe I would be able to have a bigger impact on a national level and be able to have some national conversations about election security, election integrity. That didn't happen, wasn't in the cards. And maybe that's because I was needed, this year. Maybe it was God's plan to have me involved here. And Josh tells everybody, oh, David's finally running for the position he's always had his eye on. I never had my eye on the Georgia GOP. I was never even really interested in being involved in the Georgia GOP until 2023, when somebody said, if you get involved and you get elected, then some of the politicians that are down there will have to stop calling you a conspiracy theorist. They'll actually have to take, they're going to feel like they have to take a telephone call with you and take you seriously. And I've had some good conversations. I've had some really good conversations with the lieutenant governor, and with Senator Steve Gooch. finally being taken seriously about what's happening out there. And the president put out an executive order that said we should have hand-marked, hand-counted paper ballots at the precinct. And Tulsi Gabbard came out and said, you know what? Those the machines that are out there, they are susceptible to hacking. So no more tinfoil hat over here. Turns out I was right the entire time, and I'm running right now because I want to make our elections more secure. I want to finish the work that President Trump says that we need to do in Georgia, which is hand-marked, hand-counted paper ballots at the precinct. That didn't happen, in the most recent legislative session. It was kind of forgotten. The legislative agenda, went out 22 days after the legislative, session started. That's not being proactive. That's not planning. That's not, lobbying, to get the work of the people done. That's an afterthought,
That's right. And the most important bill got left on the table while, the Senate decided to go home early.
Yeah, and I said, we've got a ton of work to do. I didn't mean to, go off on that whole thing right there. That's the reason I'm running is because we need security in our elections. It's not going to happen with Josh McKoon. I guarantee you, it's not going to happen with him.
Well, it certainly hasn't happened up to now. All right. Well, thank you so much. It's going to get even busier from here on out. So we will be checking in with you regularly, and good luck with the progress as you go.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.
So it was a very interesting discussion. And, you can tell we're going to show some stuff in just a couple of minutes. We'll take a break first, but we're going to show some of this from the statements made by those that have actually experienced some of this for themselves. Now, you saw David with that 9-page NDA. Well, what do we hear from some of the folks that have run up against blocking in some of the things that they have pursued?
Well, what that reminded me of, Bill, was Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory when they're going in the factory and Wonka throws down the agreement and scrolls across the room.
Oh yeah,
it's exactly the same scene. Interesting. We're going to take a break here. We're going to pay some bills. We'll be back, and Bill will continue with these interviews. Be right back.
Watching my friends gain more and more weight, and then eventually I got to tell you, this is a little dark, but bad diet literally killed my whole crew.
Wow.
Diabetes, a stroke, all kinds of stuff. It's like, you had a stroke? You're not even 50 years old. You guys got to quit eating this stuff. Your body knows what's what. You're not conscious of this, but that's why people will go to the refrigerator and they'll grab this and that and the other and put together this outrageously elaborate combination of foods. Your body's trying to reach balance. Unbeknownst to us, our bodies are always trying to reach homeostasis. You can't eat all of this stuff and expect to live a long time. And one thing led to another, and I went, forget this. We're going to make our own product. So we partnered with one of the world's top 3 biochemists where nutrition-specific study is concerned. I said, all I want is the best nutritional and immune support product in the world. So we mixed it in yogurt. It's a powder. I got a bag of it here. I keep one on the console all the time, just so I can show people.
Yeah.
And it's a powder. Now, this is not candy. This is hardcore nutrition. And sugar is an enemy. And most people do not know that the reason these bellies are showing up on people all over the place, your body makes fat to store the toxins it can't get rid of. So it just puts them over here. But I can tell you this, you take this for 30 days and then lay off of it for 2 or 3 days, and you'll go, good grief, give me some more. Skin, nails, hair growing back. Cut yourself and it heals in half the time.
So we are in the factory in Kentucky. This is Alp World HQ, and we are at the end of the packing line. So I'm going to show you how it works. We have a card, throw it in there. There's a packing slip, and then you have the Alp. And 4, but that seems honestly like a lot. 3 now, but it's good. You just pack a punch that, for a normal nicotine brand, it'd be like 8. We think 3 is fine. Next one. Again, 4. I'll throw 3 in just to keep it fair. Okay? There you go. So you can see you can get fast at this. And really, it's just a matter of repetition. This is kind of the assembly line that, Henry Ford devised so long ago.
Tucker stealing all the applicants.
Okay, Bill, we're back.
I love that ad. I really do.
I know you do. I played that for you.
Okay, so the next two things we're going to see are statements, part of speeches made during the MAGA candidate forum last Thursday, and it's very important to listen to what people are saying. This is not, there are cases out there where people are making pontifications that are based on fiction. They're saying people are screaming at them. They're doing all this stuff. All that appears to be just falseness, and you'll see that in comparison to people talking about exactly what happened to them. Let's take a look at these.
Can you clarify a rumor about leadership encourage you not to run?
Yep. Well, you asked the question, I'll answer it.
Hang on just a second. We got something going on with that one. Let's see if we can get that to clear up.
All you gotta do is ask me. I'm very transparent.
There we go.
I consider me and the chairman have been friends for years, or for a while, since I was 23, I would say. And me and the chairman had several conversations about getting young people involved. And so the chairman sent me a text message. I was very excited. I thought that chairman was calling me saying, you're a young man. I'm so excited for young people to run in this party. I'm excited to see a fresh face. I'm excited that you're going to be able to bring our message to people that look like you. Instead, I got a phone call saying, would you consider getting out of this race? Because Caroline Jeffords has brought in a lot of money to our party. Would you consider getting out of this race because I need people on this committee who will have my back? And will you consider getting out of this race and instead taking a position as chairman of the Youth Advisory Council? Now, just to add on to that, I sent the chairman an email in 2023 after he won, asking for that Youth Advisory Council. Never got it, but now it's an option. So.
Because, I want to be completely transparent with folks. Okay, so I'm running for office myself. I don't want to be involved in determinations that are being made about who is or is not eligible to run under the terms of the call.
Instead, I got a phone call saying, would you consider getting out of this race? Because Caroline Jeffords has brought in a lot of money to our party.
So, I'm very transparent. All you gotta do is ask me a question. Okay, so I'm running for office myself. I don't want to be involved in determinations that are being made.
Instead, I got a phone call saying, would you consider getting out of this race?
We should by now be getting used to and spotting this dynamic. And the more you understand it, the more you see it, the more upset many become, because this is an indication of some at a generous level, you could call it management style, but this appears to be messing with another candidate and potentially messing with the overall election. That's wrong in my mind, and I believe in many people's minds. This continues, and one of the things I learned long time ago, one of my past mentors said to me, people don't really change. They have a tendency to stay who they are. And so if there's characteristics about the way they behave toward other people, you will usually see that played out over time. What we're going to see next is a video that McCune made back when he was first running for GOP chairman back in 2023. And you'll hear about an important area that he wanted to make sure we had and supported. And then you'll hear the actual experience. Let's watch this.
Another key that we have to be successful is our finance team. We're going to bring together a premier finance team to raise the money necessary to be successful in November of 2024.
I don't see the bank statements. I don't see the checks that are being deposited. I don't see the checks that are being written. I have been told that I can go down to the office and review all that information, but anytime you try to do that, everybody down there is so busy that they make it seem like it's quite an inconvenience for you to be there, okay? So I have not done that as often as I would like, but I intend to change that going forward. I don't know how the credit card is being used. We have a party credit card. My understanding, if I'm not wrong, is that 2 people have that credit card and they run their expenses on various trips, whatever else it is they're doing. I have no idea who is using it, what they're using it for, or what the expenses are for. Yes, when you look on the FEC report, it may say lodging, but it doesn't say who was there, what it was for, or anything like that. And so that to me is not transparent. That's a check register. Right. Okay? Yep. That's not really transparent.
Here's what Lori McLean posted on Twitter in the last weeks that describes what she can do and what she can't do. Transparent. So you can begin to see the pattern. Claim transparency, and yet the people that are in the job today, Lori McLean is one, is saying things are not transparent. And so what does that say about the veracity of the other claims, of the other statements being made? Well, it calls them into question in my mind. So we are going to continue to explore these areas as we go forward. And you can, as you begin to hear the people that are now looking to move into the GOP, to become officers at the state level, to become officers or participate at the district level, there is a different tone, and you will hear it, and you will see it in some of these interviews that we're going to show next. We were lucky enough to get personal time, direct time with a number of the candidates, and I think people will begin to hear truth in what they're hearing from some of these folks, and they will see it in contrast to what's being said by some out there. If you're ready, let's go ahead and take one more break, and then we'll continue into the interviews. Todd.
Yeah, the Wellness Company is one of our best sponsors. This is one of the emergency medical kits. If you can't tell, I'm sick right now, and I dug into this bad boy today and pulled some medicines out. twc.health/CDM, and you can use promo code CDM. But here's a quick ad from them. They've been really supportive, so support them, and it's good products for your family.
Well, in the case of hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin, these are 2 medications that have been FDA approved for use in humans for decades. They are very, very inexpensive. Interestingly, available over the counter in almost every other country other than the US and Canada. You can just walk into a pharmacy and buy them like we buy Tylenol in much of the world because they're that safe. And we've known for decades that ivermectin has very strong antiviral properties. It has anti-inflammatory properties, and both ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine are what we call zinc ionophores. They help to move zinc from the bloodstream into the cell, which is where it needs to be in order to fight off a virus. So lots of application for these, and we have every reason to believe that those drugs also will likely have some efficacy against H5N1 or a number of other respiratory viruses that we may meet down the road.
I'll give you a plug for Alp right now. So if you talk about one of the worst companies that's out there,
America's greatest nicotine pouch,
America's lip pillow. But who is your biggest competitor?
That would be the Zyn Corporation.
Zyn. Do you know who owns Zyn?
I do.
So it's Philip Morris International.
Yep.
They are operationally headquartered in Switzerland. On their website to this day, you go on their website today, they have a massive diversity, equity, inclusion piece that is on their website. They have that, and I would say it's I'll call it the worst aspects of DEI, which can be quota systems, race-based systems. And on their website today, they say we're going to hire 20% of our people we want to be Asian. Literally on their website, just 20%. They want 40% women. I mean, literally quota systems they have on their website today. But the other piece is that on their website, and this is a company that makes Marlboro cigarettes and Zyn and other things, is so they're like one of their big partners for Pride Month that's coming up is the Stonewall Org. And Stonewall Org is one of these LGBTQ plus organizations, and fine, you can do that, but like they are advocating for biological men to compete against women in sports. But like, this is what's crazy is that like, and I think this is the problem about where we're going is
what does that have to keep that out of my mouth? I mean, this is like a.
Okay, Bill, back to you.
Okay. So again, just to get us started here, I had the opportunity to visit one-on-one with some of the candidates in actually two events. One was the MAGA Candidate Forum in Gainesville, and the other was a GRA endorsement convention in Cherokee last evening. I want to go through some of these. We're going to hear first from Lisa Pierce. And notably, just that afternoon, just as she was arriving at the MAGA candidate forum, she received confirmation from the nomination committee that indeed she was being added to the ballot. She did need to submit a resume with some format that they had asked for, but indeed was being added to the ballot as she should have been. Let's hear from her. Up here in Gainesville at the candidate forum, and I'm sitting here with Lisa Pierce. Lisa, thank you so much for making time for us.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you.
This was kind of a long drive for you, wasn't it?
It was. It was about a 3-hour trip up here. Traffic was terrible as always through Atlanta, but what are you going to do?
Yeah, really. 5 million people making their way to wherever you aren't. Right?
I know. Exactly. You got that right.
So we're going to have, it sounds like over 100 people here tonight, maybe more. And a lot of the candidates are going to be speaking at this forum. It's a little different than some of them. In some cases, there's been a very limited cross-section of candidates. Mm-hmm. But what we're picking up is this election, this cycle for the GOP in Georgia is pretty darn important. And there's been a lot of questions in a lot of areas. So what are you hearing from the folks that you're talking to about, their expectations or wishes for this election?
I think what I'm hearing from a lot of people is that they really want a seat at the table, that they currently don't have that seat, and the grassroots want that seat at the table. They feel like they're being ignored. They feel like the Georgia GOP doesn't care about them, and I think it's really important that we have candidates that put them at the table and make them feel like they do have that seat and feel important again.
Yeah. One of the things we noted from a couple of the recent conventions were some people didn't choose to even show up. They felt disenfranchised, I guess, is what I heard from many. And that's a dangerous direction for conservatives to go. And I guess to your point, it has to be everybody that considers themselves a conservative, doesn't it?
I totally agree. And I feel like we've kind of lost our way in the Georgia GOP. Just my limited 2 years experience with the Georgia GOP, I feel like we've lost our way. Mm-hmm. And with everything that's happened in this cycle, I kind of wonder, are we, trending more towards the Democrat tactics, or are we going to stay true conservatives?
That's a very good point. When you say lost our way, there's, as I said, there's folks that I think are feeling somewhat disenfranchised. There's also, I think, folks out there that would like to be part, but either we're not reaching them or we're not reaching them with the right message. Does that kind of make sense? Are you hearing something like that?
I agree, and I feel like, Trump brought a lot of people into the party. There was so much excitement in this last election, and I feel like a lot of people are, we've done our part. We don't need to do anymore. And I feel like now more than ever, it's important that we continue to push forward because we need to pull through Trump's agenda. Mm-hmm. And I don't feel like we have the right people in that are going to do that.
No. It was very interesting. At the beginning of 2024, I was fortunate enough to talk to somebody pretty high up in Trump's campaign organization. And they had not done this yet, but they mentioned that the plan was to move away from us versus them dialogue and move toward, common sense. What do people want, regardless of who they're called, regardless of where they're from, regardless of where they, what kind of work they do, where they live? and move toward this common sense. And if you recall, Trump made that comment again and again and again during the remainder of the campaign. You know, it's common sense. You know, what do people want? So let me ask you, what do you think, if you just looked at really almost anybody, what are the things that they really want as we go forward?
I think they want a very strong economy. I think people need to be able to afford their groceries. I think they want to know that their vote counts. And to your last point, I think why people are feeling disenfranchised is they're not sure when they're voting on these machines, because there's been so much talk about it, that I'm going to go vote, and is my vote counting? And so I think election integrity is a very important issue, and I also believe that border security is very important. So I think those top three are, you know, top on my list.
Yep. Well, there's also parents that, you know, they worry about their children. They worry about the safety. They worry about their future, I think. Want to make sure they can have a good chance at the American dream, when today it feels like that may be out of reach for many. You know, to Trump's credit, he's begun making a lot of moves. But it seems to many, even here in Georgia, and maybe especially here in Georgia right now, that we don't seem to be in exactly the same step. He called recently for hand-marked paper ballots,
Right.
single-day voting, hand counting. And yet, to my knowledge, we passed few, really, if any, serious election integrity bills, especially the last one that didn't even make it to the floor, and then they left early. It seemed odd to me.
Well, and I don't know about you, but my interpretation of this last legislator whole session was not very family oriented, very citizen oriented. It felt very corporate, and it didn't feel like they took the needs that we have here in Georgia and the citizens in mind. That it was all about corporate things. You know, let's go ahead and continue to poison our families, and let's, you know, not do anything about election integrity. And I came out of that session scratching my head and wondering, what are these legislators thinking? Because they're definitely not thinking about us. They don't have us in mind. And I think part of that problem is partly because of the Georgia GOP, is the legislators are leading the party instead of the other way around. And we need to have leaders within the party that are going to step up and have it to where the Georgia GOP is leading the legislators and not the other way.
Yeah, that goes back to this. Sounds like common sense, doesn't it? Where's the power really come from? It comes from the people.
It's supposed to.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And they need to be reminded of that.
Yeah. So as you go forward, I know this is going to be a little early, but do you have a vision of what the kinds of things are that you want to change and achieve as you get into the first vice chair role in the party?
Yeah, I think first, above all else, I think the executive committee, they all have to have duties and responsibilities. Currently, first vice chair, second vice chair, I think the only people that have duties and responsibilities is the chairman and the treasurer. And we need to be a part of the whole organization, and we need to have a voice on the organization. I think that's super important for us moving forward. We also need some kind of communication. I know my experience last year in 2024, that was a very important election. We got literally no communication from the Georgia GOP, none. And being a brand new chair, we need to be able to mentor people, to be able to tell them how to grow their parties, and we need to be united as a team. I know they talk a lot about united, but they're not very united. And it does feel like a us versus them in the Georgia GOP. It's like you have the grassroots and then you have the establishment, and there's no mixing in between. And we've got to fix that within our party.
Yeah. The other thing that I've noticed is if you look back, and let's use Trump as an example, has any day gone by where we didn't see some message from President Trump, even when he was out of office?
No.
I don't think so.
No.
And so, people talk about communication, but open, transparent, truthful communication really tells people where your mind is, I think. Does that make sense?
Oh, no, I totally agree with you. And I feel like the party has become more of a social club than what we're supposed to be doing, which is really speaking for the citizens of Georgia, and we don't have that anymore. It's more about how can we be popular, and we need to have leaders in there that are okay with standing up when it's not a popular stance to stand, and I don't have a problem with that at all. I've done that a lot in my own county, but we have to be able to do that to be unpopular.
Sometimes there's a Fannie Willis out there gunning for you, isn't there?
Bring it. That's all I gotta say. Bring it. I'm for that.
So I heard a little birdie give me a hint that there might be news today, and I know that one of the concerns has been a hesitancy of the current nomination committee to place you on the ballot.
Correct.
Because of what sounded like a relatively minor, obscure problem. Is there any news there?
There is.
Is there?
Absolutely. As we were pulling up to the event center, I received an email from the nominating committee stating that if I submitted a political resume, and they provided a template, which was really a resume, and if I sent that to them within the next 48 hours, then I would be placed upon the ballot, on the official ballot.
Well, that is wonderful news.
I know, it is great news. I'm very excited and look forward to being placed on that ballot.
So one of the things that, and I will stand by something I've said a number of times, many people have heard me, when folks do the things that I and others think are improper, I'm going to call it out. But when folks do the right thing, I'm going to give them credit. So kudos to the nomination committee
Agreed.
for making perhaps a delayed, but it looks like proper decision. Yeah, does that make sense?
It does. And
That's
I'm very
great.
excited that we have that opportunity, and we'll get it done.
That's great. All right. Well, I'm excited to see the response tonight, and
Yes.
it will be a great group. Sounds like, yeah.
Yeah.
All
Thank
right.
you so much for the opportunity.
You bet. Well, I'm sure we'll be talking again.
All
Thanks
right.
so much.
All right. Thanks.
Great interview, Bill.
It was a very interesting interview, especially since she just learned that she was going to be on the ballot. So we're going to power through a couple more. I am stacking these to try to cover the folks whose elections will come up in the next 3 days. So next up is Richard Jordan, who is running for the 7th District chairmanship in the Georgia GOP. We're at the 7th and 11th Regional GRA Endorsement Convention. I'm standing here with Richard Jordan. Richard, thanks for making time.
Good to be with you.
So it sounds like you're going to have quite a crowd tonight, yeah?
Well, I think it's going to be filled up. Yes, we've got a lot of pre-registrants and then a lot of people checking in at the door, kind of playing their odds.
So first, what's the point of tonight, just briefly, and then I'm going to ask you about what your plans are.
Well, as you know, the GRA, our real mark in the geopolitical landscape is we endorse candidates in the primary. That's for elected constitutional positions. But even inside the party, we want to make sure that we let those candidates have a viewing and we evaluate them and we endorse our favorite candidates who support the goals and ideals of the Georgia Republican Assembly.
That's great. So I understand you have some aspirations in this cycle as well. Tell us about that.
Well, I'm in Cherokee County, and as you know, Cherokee is split between the 7th and the 11th, and so in East Cherokee, we're part of the 7th District. There's 6 counties that make up the 7th District, and so we go from North Fulton to Forsyth, Dawson, Lumpkin, and then West Hall County and East Cherokee County. So it's probably the most affluent district in the state.
That's great. And your family goes back quite some time in Republican Party tradition here in these counties, yes?
Absolutely. I'm from Cobb County originally, and I was just telling a gentleman tonight from Cobb County that my father in 1962, during the draft Goldwater movement, started the Republican Party in Cobb County, and then he went on to be the first Republican elected since before Reconstruction days. Wow. He was literally run out of Lithia Springs by a couple of Democrats toting shotguns. They said, "We don't allow your kind here." So he was trodden some untrodden territory.
Wow, fascinating story. Well, we'll be expectantly listening to the speeches tonight and tracking your campaign as it progresses over the coming days. The election is when?
The election is coming up this Saturday, and I'm running for chairman of the 7th District. I think it's an opportunity to it's Donald Trump, our president, the 47th president, has plowed the furrows on the federal level, and for liberty and freedom. And so what we want to do is bring the MAGA movement to Georgia and to the 7th District in particular. We need to drain the swamp.
That sounds great. All right. We'll look forward to seeing the progress in the coming days.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate all that you do.
So again, another great candidate. And then he is running for 7th District Chairman. The other candidate that is running for 7th District Chairman is Shawnee Zeppendorf, and I will play her interview now. We're here at the GRA multi-district endorsement convention, and I'm standing here with Shawnee Zeppendorf. Shawnee, thank you for making a few minutes.
Thank you for having me here.
So you're one of the folks running for chairman of the 7th District, yeah?
Yes.
So I guess just share with us what your vision is for the 7th District, please.
Well, one of the things that we would like to work on this past term that we didn't have a lot of interest in, which is fundraiser. We have several ideas for fundraising. We also had the previous fundraiser that was done with the District 6 which was the successful Lincoln Dinner. And we also had another outing planned, which was at Lake Lanier, which have kind of a central. So hopefully we're able to do that this time around, and without being chair, some of the things are limited. So, and hopefully we can get everybody together and work together and be the best district that we can, and be able to multiply that and be able to share with other districts.
So I've noticed that a number of people have talked about the general movement in the Republican Party over the last few years. We seem to be, for one reason or another, losing Republican seats in the State House and Senate. This past cycle, we lost, I think, 2 in the House. What do you think is causing?
Well, one of the things is that, I feel like we need to do more as far as being conservatives to welcome everybody to the party and be able to, share what we do with others. Now, remember the first time around where you were invited to an event, how and where you are today. There was that one person that made a difference. And we need to be, mentoring others that are new. And if you're new, seek out a mentor. Because I have several mentors that had invited me. And I actually called one of my mentors and thanked her for being the first one to invite me and getting me involved. And she says, I was not expecting you to thank me or anyone else, because I thought everybody else was doing the same thing, and that everybody else was welcoming others to their party.
One of the things that we're at the GRA event, one of the things the GRA talks about is holding even Republican legislators accountable for acting conservative, acting their role. Do you think in general the legislators are being held accountable enough?
Well, the thing is, we almost have to be the person to, make them accountable. A lot of times, they vote and not thinking that we know how they voted. So we need to do our part and, be the watchdog, so to speak, on our elected officials. And of course, a lot of the positions, 2 more years, if they're not doing what the people are asking them to do, there are going to be people that are challenging, their positions, and I hope they understand that. And of course, with Brandon Beach leaving his position, we're going to have, several people in, wanting that particular position, and we need to do our research and have events, hopefully being in District 7 that we can hold events to have all the candidates that are interested in running, and maybe have the talk before they declare. Some of them have already declared, but the thing is, our money is being spread to 3 or 4, maybe more candidates. And we need to be smart with our investment, which is on our candidates. And until they're, nominated as, the Republican nominee, I'm not sure this term if there's going to be general primary or not. But, we need to be smart with our money, and they need to talk amongst themselves, hopefully, and see who would be the best candidate who has a higher chance of winning, before you invest all the time and money, for them.
So your own election for the district is coming up this Saturday, yes? And then you're also in the run for one of the state positions, I understand. Which one there?
Second vice chair.
Second vice chair, okay. All right, well, we'll look forward to seeing how you do this coming Saturday. And,
Thank
and good
you.
luck, and we'll see how things go between then and state.
All right.
Thank you very
so
much for the time.
Thank you.
So another good interview, and then we get a chance, and we're going to go back to the Thursday before. We get a chance to visit with Brian Parker. Brian Parker is running for chairman of the 9th district, and so we get some of his thoughts, and I'll explain something fascinating that he was able to accomplish that talks about his ability to lead in just a minute. Okay. Hi, we're back at the Gainesville Candidate Forum, and we're here with Brian Parker.
Hey, good evening.
Brian is running for
Chairman of the 9th District.
the 9th district.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So, first question: what made you decide to jump in and run this time?
I'm not a 20-year politician like Trump. I'm an outsider. I can't stand politicians, but I feel called to do my part to help save America.
Sounds good. So, what's been the process like so far? Have you found obstacles in your way, or has it been just smooth sailing?
It's been a little formal, the process to get things going on that. I've been able to go around and visit most of the county GOP meetings, and that's been good. I've had good reception for the most part on that. Yeah.
So as you look forward, what are some of the things that you expect that you would want to focus on should you become chairman?
Well, the Georgia Republican Party is just completely broken, shattered. There's the reason I think that a lot more people don't vote is because they don't have any trust. They don't have any confirmed feelings of people that are either in elected office as Republicans or the Republican Party leadership as well. I mean, it's too squishy. Typically a Republican will not follow through. They will not go to the mat. They will not take it to accomplish the mission and not do the right thing for the people.
So that brings up an interesting point. A lot of folks, especially this session for some reason, have talked about the legislators seeming to not really want to listen to what the constituents are saying. And as examples, folks showed up in several occasions to appear at the Capitol, sometimes hundreds at a time.
I've been there
to lobby for hand ballots and
yes, sir.
hand counting and
several
so forth.
times.
And that didn't seem to make much difference. As a matter of fact, I don't think many, if any, real election integrity bills passed. And the one that might have been closest was left on the table as they left the session early.
Yes.
So that sounds like what you're describing, yeah?
Very frustrating.
Not really worried about the people.
Did not accomplish the mission. They made a lot of noise like they were addressing it. They were taking care of election integrity, right? Of course, our Secretary of State is always famous for saying that we have the cleanest elections in the country. But they don't. They just, the session was pathetic. We had to fight on everything. And my goodness, why, dude, we have been, this country's been around 250 years. Why do we have to have and pass so many new bills and new laws every single year? Don't we have enough already?
Yeah, and there's been several this session that people have heavily questioned. The tort reform bill, many people have said, that's going to keep some people from being able to get a fair verdict and a fair judgment
Yes.
in a trial. Others were concerned, and still are, about the pesticide bill.
Yes. 144.
Given especially the fact that once it was voted on and passed, just a few days later, we hear about a $2.1 billion verdict.
Surprise.
To a gentleman that was charging them with basically causing his cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, the bill smoothed right through, seemed magical.
Well, that's because leadership wanted it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was very interesting. We sent out an article on that bill to members of the legislature the other day. We actually had a couple come back and say, "Hey, just want to make it clear, I didn't vote for it." So kudos to those individuals
Yes.
who came back and clarified they weren't really contributing to the problem. So change is what I'm hearing from a lot of folks. So what kind of changes do you think need to be made, and how would you orchestrate that in the ninth?
Qualifying. Qualifying is a joke. It is absolutely broken. The standard protocol, the best I can tell, is if a candidate shows up the week of qualifying and fills out his paperwork, brings and submits a check, then we qualify him as a Republican candidate. I don't know of any job in America that you can get where you just turn in your application and you're hired immediately. And there's no vetting process involved. Didn't we just oust Jeff Duncan?
We did indeed.
Shouldn't we oust some other people as well? There's a lot of people that have the R by their name in the state of Georgia that are not doing the will of the people. And I think we've got to be authentic. If we're going to say we're going to follow the Republican platform, then we need to follow it. And if we don't follow it, there's got to be consequences.
Just another great conversation. And you could tell that, Brian has some strong views. Now, one of the things that we talked about earlier plays in here, and that is that notion of effort versus results. And earlier today, I saw somebody that I believe has lost much of their credibility, but espousing sort of soft virtues of Brian's contender, his opponent in his race. So I thought it would make sense to share something factual. Brian is a leader of the Republican Party of Banks County. Now, he's not the only one. He's got a great team up there. But they were able to hold an event and accumulate over $35,000, which they then contributed to the Georgia GOP.
Wow.
And it was fascinating because, one, they are the 12th largest contributor overall to the Georgia GOP. There's, of course, a bunch of people at the top that are the Republican National Party and so forth, but they are number 12. And in addition, they've done this, and they've held other events as well, each of which has been successful. So when you talk about somebody able to produce results, this is what we're looking for. Able to do that and then contributes it to help the party make progress, in a very generous way. One last thing, and then I'm gonna move to you, and I know you want to cover an international topic. So the 9th district, which is the district that Brian Parker is running for, is holding a gala, and Michael Whatley, the RNC chairman, is due to be there. We understand that the other candidates for chairman of the Georgia GOP and maybe others will be there as well. But we talked about earlier this notion of transparency. And I've been to a number of Trump rallies. Many people have been to the Trump rallies. And I am told, and with our good friend from Voice of Rural America, we heard this morning that notice was sent out that cameras and audio recording devices would not be permitted in this event, and violators might be removed from the event for trying to carry these things in. Fascinating and troubling. When was the last time anybody went to a Trump rally and somebody said, "Oh, by the way, you can't record this. You can't take any pictures"?
You can't bring your
Um,
phone in.
it sounds like that. It doesn't
Yeah.
it? It sounds very odd. So we're hoping that they will change that. But it also begs the question, what the heck was this for? Is this another NDA kind of thing where something's going to be said, but they don't want to have to answer for it later on? We don't know. We don't
Not
know.
good.
But we found that troubling, to say the least. So,
Not good.
okay, back to you, Todd.
Oh, thank you. Great interviews, Bill, by the way, and big viewership on the show tonight. I think people are really interested in these upcoming races. So the Georgia shows, as usual, being very impactful in Georgia politics, along with the GeorgiaRecord.com. I wanted to talk about one international event, and I put this out this morning on armedforces.press, our military channel, that the Trump bombing Iran will be the end of the presidency. And I firmly believe this. There is a big war going on right now inside the administration between those who want to continue the forever wars, start another major war in the Middle East. And guess what? Our boys and girls are going to be sent to that war, and local Americans in the region will be at risk. And don't think this war won't come here. Iran is not Iraq. It is has a very powerful military. And guess what? Biden let in thousands of terrorists into the country over the last 4 years. You bet your bottom dollar there are sleeper cells around the nation. So if we get another major war with this adversary, the war could come to you. And I'm talking daycare centers, grocery stores, schools, anything. And people just need to be aware of this. We need to shut this down. There are ways to bring down the regime of the mullahs without a war, without American forces involved. And we're going to be out front in this. There's others with us like Tucker Carlson and Steve Bannon. And we've been talking about this for years, and we're going to do our best and get our voice out there to stop the forever wars and to prevent a war with Iran. That's all I had, Bill.
Okay. So two things before we close. One is, everybody's heard the saying, in order to make successful change, you have to show up. And in the coming days, that's going to be especially true. This Saturday, as you heard, there will be elections for district leadership, along with state committee members, along with at-large members for the districts. And folks that are delegates or alternates must please take the time to go to your district convention and make your voice known. It may be I realize it's a chunk of time on a Saturday, but you heard how many people fervently recognize that change is required. And the way we get that is participation. The folks that have been defined as delegates and alternates need to show up. The alternates may think, well, I'm just an alternate. I'm not going to have anything to do. That's not necessarily true. In many cases, some delegates do not show up. And guess what? They take the alternates and move them up to being delegates. Please, if you are a delegate or alternate, go to your district convention this weekend and vote the way that you believe is best for the Georgia GOP and for your district. In the beginning week of June will be the state convention, and I will ask for the same thing. Make your plans. Excuse me. If you are a state delegate or state alternate, make your plans. Be up in Dalton. I would love to again meet those folks that go. Seek me out, shake my hand. I will say thank you for coming, and give you the credit for making the commitment and being there. That's the way we make change. So thank you for allowing me to make that request.
On that note, Bill, I left in December, but I was an alternate on the Miami-Dade Republican Executive Committee. And I think probably about a third of the time I was called up to vote. So it's not a small amount. I mean, it can definitely happen.
That's correct. But for the county that I'm in, I think there's only been in the last 3 years, there's only been one occurrence where we didn't actually what's called elevate all the alternates, I believe. But yes, you really, whether you're a delegate or an alternate, doesn't really matter. Be there, there, and make your voice known and help create the change that you can hear it. Everybody wants this. So
great show, Bill. I'm glad we're getting this message out, and we'll be back, I guess, Sunday at 2 p.m. Check me out on the Skiff tomorrow at 10. Monday through Friday, 10 to noon Eastern. Great intel brief for the day. And thanks, Bill. Anything else?
That's it. We'll see you next time.
Okay.